talked about, like, I know that you published a book called The Me Talks. I actually want to get a hold of a copy of that because I want
I
to.
was like, oh, I have it right there.
You have an amazing bookshelf.
We'll send you one. I know. As you can tell, my husband and I are big bibliophiles. So
I love it. People just collect books. Other people actually read them. I like to do.
oh, we read them, but we collect them too. But we
I
really
collect.
do read them.
My husband's like, "Do you need all of these cookbooks?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
I know. I love cookbooks too. We have to send you one. We'll send you a Total Me Talks book.
I read them like a novel. So, do you think that because you talked about how your body just kind of gave up on you? Do you feel like kind of this? I feel like anyone that pursues their dreams, there's going to be a period where it's a struggle, and you're going to question. Like, I mean, I know personally speaking, like, what am I doing? Like, this is so hard, and it's not good on your body to be under that amount of stress. You know what I mean? Trying to make things work, trying to make ends meet. Do you kind of feel like your body just was like, oh, at the end of it, where it just was like, okay, now I can relax and I didn't know what to do? Or how do you?
I think, well, what happened exactly was that a few years into Two Broke Girls, I got this like crazy skin rash all over my body. And it took us about 7 months of me going to different doctors and stuff to figure out that the rash was being caused by deep rooted stress.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, I was tested for psoriasis, any kind of like dermatological disorder. And it was negative. Finally, a doctor who I'm blanking on the name, but it was like he did acupuncture in my ear and basically told me to change my diet.
Yeah.
And also to that was when meditation really became part of my life. And I think, for me, I was still like in my early 20s and I was eating, on set, like mac and cheese and donuts and I know I was always a tiny frame girl. So it was like, I was lucky I could do that. But from a health perspective, because I was working, those first few years of Two Broke Girls, we were sometimes filming till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And, I was wearing those heels all the time and I was having
They were taped, right?
Yeah. But, and really the show, Kat and I had so much dialogue, like between the two of us, my weekends were spent learning dialogue. We went 3 weeks on, 1 week off, but it was 3 weeks without like a break. And then we'd crash. And my doctor, when I would have these weeks off, I would go out to dinner with friends and I'd have wine, but I hadn't had wine for a while. So then my body was reacting weird to alcohol. And anyways, moral of the story is I just realized how to deal with stress better, which was meditation and diet. I just, you can still have donuts, just pretty much not 2 a day every day.
Twice a day every day.
And yeah.
Was it, did your skin clear up then kind of right away after you changed your?
Right away. It was, I did meditation, yoga, and I think it was right around Christmas break. So I had gotten a break. So I went home to my parents' house and I was eating a lot more greens. That's where I discovered smoothies because I'm not a big veggie person. Yeah. I wish I was. I wish I loved salad.
You might like to pull a beet out and just eat it.
I had cooked zucchini the other day, which is not normally what I like, but I was able to tolerate it. So I'm getting there, and it was from the farm and it was fresh. So, but smoothies for me now have become my staple of, I mean, I'll have 2 a day and I'm packing them with vegetables. But the fruit, I've always loved fruits. As long as there's fruit in there, I'm good. But yeah, and I think the lifestyle change of people knew who I was, and I was always used to being really private and, just more the pressure, not the pressure of acting, because I had done that my whole life, but the pressure of talk shows, big talk shows, and having to be myself and not hiding behind a character. Was, as we all know, in our 20s, you're still finding who you are as a woman, as a human, and to go through that sort of overnight and then in the public eye. I will say, though, my best friends from college are still my circle of friends. I mean, obviously, I have the Kat Dennings of the world and people from the industry that have now come into my circle, but my core group hasn't changed. And I think that has been super important for me because, and in my husband, we were dating before Two Broke Girls.
Yeah.
And he's been sort of my rock. I had him and I had Christina Hendricks and I had Kat, sort of, who had been through the Mad Men rush, and Kat had already been through it. So they sort of took my hand and were my outlet as far as dealing with the entertainment world of it all, stress, and how to navigate that.
It's so great to have a mentor to kind of lead you through, and somebody, especially somebody who's done it before. And it's
Exactly.
obviously each situation might be a little different, but it's kind of like the common thread of like the scrutiny and just like, I don't know how people deal with it. I just,
And honestly, her Kat and I were really lucky because there wasn't really much scrutiny on her and I. You know, we're pretty bored. We have like pretty boring normal lives. And like,
people,
as far as like how controversy or anything, like knock on wood, but like we were lucky, I think, in that sense of like, yeah, we really loved each other and we were making this great show we were super proud of. And it was really hard work.
you guys were just like,
Yeah, it was like it was pretty rad.
yeah,
Like, but hard work,
yeah,
hard work.
yeah.
Like when Two Broke Girls got canceled in that first summer that I was back around all my college friends again, they were like, "Oh my God, we have you back. Like you're able to come over on a Saturday for a barbecue now." I was always learning lines. And I mean, luckily I had great friends who obviously weren't going to stop being my friends because I didn't have as much time to hang out. But they were like, "We have you back. You're back in the world."
You were pursuing your dream. You know, it's not an easy thing. You have to sometimes make sacrifices, you know.
People go to law school, people go to graduate school. My sister just finished being a therapist, going to grad school for therapy and working. She was working all day long and into the weekends and nights on grad school. And it's like everybody does it in their 20s. I think a lot of people do that where they devote everything to their career. And then in my mid 30s, I'm getting to have more of like a planting garden life.
It's I'm the same. It's, I feel like it's just you settle more into yourself.
Yeah. And there's sort of, do you feel like there's also like you're really getting to know your authentic self, like free of like ego or check boxes of success or like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, no, what does my heart want to be doing? What am I giving to the world? What's my purpose?
I feel like sometimes you can be kind of rooted in like, I want to show people that I can do this, or I can show people that I can do that. And then
Yes.
kind of are left with this feeling of deep not being satisfied
Or
because
it'll never be enough.
like,
Like, what more can I
yeah,
show?
yeah. And that's just such an ego driven thing about like more, 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 more. And like we were saying, like this time period, I think it's like stripping all that back and being like, who do you really want to be? Like, life is short. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, live your life and be happy. And
Absolutely.
whatever that looks like, it doesn't look like somebody else's definition of happiness, but it looks like what I truly feel like
Your
yeah.
And we're all different. You know, everybody's definition of what makes them happy. There's this wonderful, one of my dear friends has this amazing program called To Be Magnetic. Have you talked to Lacey Phillips yet?
Oh,
She'd be great for your
okay. Awesome.
what your site promotes.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of her work, which are basically these deep imagining meditations. It's based in neuroscience manifestation work. And it's just so I've been doing it now for 3 years and just become so close with her and talk about someone who's like, I think she's going to be the next like Eckhart Tolle, Oprah. I mean, she's incredible and she's helped a lot of my friends too. But what we're talking about finding the root of your authentic path in life and how to navigate that with boundaries and self-care from like not a face mask self-care in a bathtub, but like inner rooted
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves, especially as women. I mean, have you read Untamed,
I
Glennon
have,
Doyle?
but I've listened to like every podcast with her.
Oh, I love her so
Yeah,
much.
my friend is like, she's like, Allison, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. And
Every person needs to read this book.
I mean, just the principle is so true. I feel like this. I'm such like a free spirit, and I feel like for such a long time I've been kind of like reined in, and I've gone against the grain in a lot of ways. But I feel like that is going to be even more so enlightening.
She talks a lot and just recently on Instagram had this beautiful 15-minute talk about self-care as women and how it should be internal self-care. And I was thinking about, because of the To Be Magnetic work, I was like, that is a great way of internal self-care because you're realizing sort of what your authentic path is in life and how to connect to like a deeper meaning, whatever that is, not religion. Whatever religion you follow will work. It's not religious. It's truly based in neuroscience and like meditation and energy, you know?
I feel like that's so interesting that you say that. I feel like so often you think of self-care. It's like, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to go into exercise, but I feel like that inner work is so much more powerful because it kind of radiates outward, you know?
And I think it contributes then to eating healthy. I think the inner work eventually becomes part of the outer work, but without Glennon Doyle was saying, like, usually self-care for women, when people are like, what product are you using for self-care? Like, they'll ask it,
Yeah.
what face mask, what? And it's like, oh, I'm still supposed to be the societal projection of beauty. Oh, my self-care means I'm getting more perfect for the outside world. And I thought that was so true. I mean, that was so, yeah, that it's no, what can I do that's inner work self care? And you can't, one thing I love that Lacey talks a lot about too is, the analogy of when you're on an airplane, they say you put your oxygen mask on first and then your child or whoever you're helping. And I love that metaphor with internal self care. It's like, if I take care of myself first,
Yeah.
then I'm going to be able to help my family, or if I have children or my job, everything. It will sort of span out and help everything,
You can kind of show up and be present then.
Absolutely. And be the most authentic version, which, I do believe we're all here to have sort of a purpose, and we all have different gifts. And how can we use those gifts to the world,
Yeah.
to
No, I
heal
love
the
that.
world?